Let's talk about flares. There are lens flares and there are bike flares, specifically this flare from Vitesse. I'm super excited about this bike. I'm going to be rushing through things here because there's so much to cover, but believe it or not, that's an e-bike. There's the charge port, there's a battery hidden in that down tube. This is what I call a stealth e-bike because from a distance, you could look at this and not know that is an e-bike. Looks like a regular road bike, a commuter bike, a city bike. This one has a battery. It has power. It also has a lot of features and a good look. I'll get this in the sun in a minute. This green, this rally green paint job. So gorgeous. Such a good bike. Let's go into the features. Oh, wait. Before I get to the features, let's talk about price. I want you to look at this bike and then think in your mind what you expect the retail price to be, and then what you expect the sale price to be. And then I'm going to give you a coupon code that's going to make it so outlandishly good that I think people that don't even like e-bikes might be interested in this. So let's get going, run down the features top to bottom, then we'll talk about that sale price. So hang around for that coupon. It is amazing. Let's start up at these bars. The width of these handlebars, 640 millimeters. I don't know the rise. If I find out, I'll put it on your screen. But the stem, it's long. The notations on the website have this as a 90 millimeter stem, but I measure 95 millimeters. The big note is that downward sweep. Grips are lock-ons, a rubber stippled texture. Nice grips for a bike at this price, and you're gonna see what I mean when I get to the price again. So lock-on grips. We have a shifter with a view window. You can see there, this is going to be an 8-speed, and it's a trigger shifter. This is a micro shift trigger shifter. Brake levers are alloy, and you can see this bike has Tektro brakes. On the left side of the bars, the e-bike control panel, a power button, up and down arrows, very simple control, very simple display, gives you all the information. There is a backlight. For now, just know it's simple. It's not overly large, kind of sits without being too obtrusive, and it's visible in daylight sun. One thing missing up top here that came with the bike, but I did not install, is a bell. With this display and with the shifter, I just couldn't find anywhere to put it that I thought was good. A lot of e-bikes have a thumb shifter up here so you can put a bell down here or move this over, but with the reaching, I just felt it was better without it. The headset is VP, and I just want to show you this. Look at this model number. Does that not look like VP Attack? Yeah, pretty cool as far as model numbers go for a headset. The head tube is a straight steer, perfect for this bike. The head tube badging is going to come into play in just a minute. That V for Vitesse, and the Vitesse graphic. Let me just get to that too. Look at this graphic. I love the plug. I like the way that looks. I like the flare. These aren't stickers and or they are clear coated over. No peeling them off. There's this little graphic-y design here. There, lightweight electric bicycle on the back. Vitesse down there with a bit of graphic. That is aluminum. Down below that we can see this bike is made in Taiwan, not China. I like that. I also like the little things. Like this cabling comes with nice clips to keep it all routed, nice and tidy. Very good. It's those little things that stack up, and there's a lot of little things on this bike. For instance, the fork. This is a Zoom fork, a Zoom Aria fork. That's 40 millimeters of travel. I even left the hang tag on. I can't believe it's made it this far. I was hoping it would. There's the little hang tag for the fork. Quick release on these wheels. 14 gauge stainless steel spokes. Double wall alloy rims. Now I do see the rim brake channel on these. When I see that, I know they're a carryover from something else. But these are strong. I like stronger wheels when you're on these thin tires. And let's talk about these tires. These are a street hybrid tread. The size, 700 by 35C, the brand CST City. Also note the striping on these tires. That's actually a reflective strip to help the bike show up better at night. It's on the front and the rear. Very nice. And also on these wheels, the valve Presta. The brakes we know from the levers are Tektro, but the specific model, that's slightly better too here, Tektro Aries. Decent mechanical disc brakes. A nice brake for this bike, disc front and rear, and with 160mm rotors front and rear. What about when we get down to this drivetrain? Let's start out with the pedals at this crankset. These are metal pedals with grippy, I know from you can ask my shins, because I also found out, when I found out these were metal, that this bike has a pace function up on that computer or a walk feature on the bike. Most e-bikes do. I found it by accident, and these found my legs. So they are stout and grippy. Probably that one right there, probably the one that dug into my shin. But these are Pro Wheel crank arms, 170mm. Those are alloy. There's a single chain ring here with a metal chain guard. I believe that's metal. Yeah, I think that's metal. That might be plastic. The guard might be plastic, but the chain ring itself is steel, and it's 44 tooth. At the rear, I told you there was more micro shift. This is a micro shift mezzo, and look at that. That is a long cage derailleur. I've never used a mezzo before as far as I can recall, but I'm not so focused on this as I am here, because normally I go straight to a freewheel when there's a rear hub motor, but that is a cassette. I had to double check, but you can see here the lock ring on this. This is a cassette. I've never encountered this before. Normally, hub drive motors always have a freewheel. A cassette, that's, we want that on our mountain bikes and on other bikes. It's better than a freewheel. I'm really shocked to see not only a cassette on a rear hub motor, but a decent cassette. This is an 11 to 32 tooth. So for you gear range junkies, that's 44 tooth going to an 11 to 32 tooth. You can figure out the ranges and do all the fancy math. As far as the motor goes, I'll zoom in as best I can here to show you the model number. This is a 250 watt motor. And I've asked for the Newton meters of torque, and once I get them, I'll put that down in the description. I can tell you from I'll talk about when I get to the riding. These 250 watt motors, this isn't an overpowering motor, it's an assist motor to help with the bike, but this is definitely a rider's bike. Top speed on this, they claim 20 miles per hour. We'll see about that. Here's another look at these Aries brakes at the rear, this rear rotor, and notice this. You don't see a lot of cabling here. This motor cable, everything's cleanly routed in this frame, and it's routed internally to go up. Look at this, very nice and clean here. Here's the battery charge port. On the other side, that's the power button to turn the bike off and on. And this will glow when you turn it off. Let me press the power button on the display, and that completely turns this off. I noticed if I leave this on and turn it back off and just leave it like that, it'll continue to glow, but it doesn't seem to suck down the battery. It's when I press this button, you can see that go out. I don't know how well you saw it, but I like this glow to know when it's on and to know when it's completely off. Pretty cool. So internal cable routing and a beautiful frame. Just look at this, and that rally green. It is gorgeous. It's a metal flake rally green. Very good looking, nice welds on this. This is a quality build bike. This bike was destined for bike shops, but the way you can get it is through MendhamBikes.com. We'll talk about that in just a minute. For now, I have more features to go over. Look at this, external bearing bottom bracket. I did not expect to see this, just like I did not expect to see a cassette on a rear hub motor. This has an external bearing bottom bracket. When we talk about the pricing, you're just going to be amazed by this, I believe, as amazed as I am. Talked about the small details with that clamp earlier. Look at this kickstand. It's adjustable. And just in case I haven't mentioned it, this gorgeous frame is aluminum. It says lightweight electric bicycle, but this is an aluminum frame. This saddle is what they call a deluxe ergonomic padded saddle, and it's as padded, beefy, and comfortable as you can get without looking like a beefy padded saddle, because it looks kind of sleek. It has gloss black with matte black and some white accents. Not reflective. This at first I thought would be reflective, but it's just a white accent, just like these up here. But it's a nice comfy saddle. Ridden this bike around for a few miles, I could tell this would be a comfortable high miler. Has a nice saddle mount. The seat post itself, I believe this is 27.2. Actually, looking at this, it might be a little bit wider. I'll measure it when I get home. I'll put it on your screen, or I'll put it down in the description. What the actual seat post diameter is, there's no dropper post or anything like that to worry with on this. Wiring and things like that would be down there, so I wouldn't even do a dropper here. Seat post clamp, it's not quick release, so I can't easily pull it out. It's a bolt-on type, which is more fitting of this style bike. So we know this is an e-bike and that motor back there is 250 watts. What I haven't talked about is the battery hiding in this down tube, what the specs are on that. This is, as we've mentioned, 250 watts, 36 volts, and this internal battery 252 watt hours, 7 amp hour, and it is replaceable. I told you I'd come back to this plate here on the front with that V for Vitesse. This is a bolt-on, as you can see. The battery can slide out that bolt-on and be replaced, and I have contacted Mendham to ask them, and they said they do have replacement batteries for this bike. If I have the price, I can't remember if they told me the price. If I have that, I'll put it down in the description. But this battery is removable. I have reviewed bikes that are stealth like this, that have an integrated battery that's literally integrated, where when the battery's done, the frame is done, it's all disposable. This is not. Thanks to clever design, this can maintain stealth, but also have a replaceable battery. So what kind of performance are you gonna get out of 36 volts, 250 watts, and 7 amp hours of battery? Well, let me tell you first and foremost, as a bike, this is a comfortable rider. It only weighs 41 pounds, so it can be ridden without battery, and it's a fun ride. Now, one thing to note, this bike does not have a twist throttle. It is pedal assist only. So that's 250 watts of pedal assisted power. If you are someone that likes to twist the throttle and let the bike do all of the work, this is not the bike for you. If you are a bike rider that's just looking for that extra little bit of assist to make a commute or a fun ride or something to take up those last few miles for you when you've pushed it too far, this is the bike for that. I've ridden it without power. It is a 41-pound bike. It rides like a 41-pound street bike. And this bike with these tires, streets and trails, gravel trails would be fine, but preferably paved trails, no mountain biking on something like this, though it does have a long cage derailleur. As the bike shop manager pointed out, he was amazed. I was amazed with the cassette. So this is a good setup. It's fun to ride. Let me cut in with a little voice over here and tell you some extra details about the ride. First and foremost, let's talk about top speed. Mendham claims up to 20 miles per hour. Realistically, 18 is what I get. I weigh 175 pounds. 18 was a comfortable top speed for me. Actually, more like 16 to 18. Depending upon the streets, what looks like flat sometimes is not flat. But also, I noted there is no throttle on this bike, and this bike has a rear hub motor. Usually, that means a cadence sensor. Oh, by the way, the brakes, Tektro Aries, they work great out of the box, as I expect, because Tektro Aries, not a bargain basement brake, they're an okay brake. Mechanical disc brakes work fine with this bike. Also, what works fine out of the box is the fork, the suspension fork, 40 millimeters of travel. This is a Zoom Aria. Not going to be mountain bike trailing with this, but around town, enough to smooth things out. Back to the cadence, or rather the power output, the on and off. Usually rear hub motor means cadence sensor, but I noticed on this bike, rear hub motor, yes, but there is no cadence sensor, which I found curious. And that's because inside that bottom bracket with its external bearings is a torque sensor. This bike actually has a torque sensor built into it, which is another, just like the cassette, another up-tier component, definitely not seen at the price this is selling at. So what's that mean for the ride? Well, a cadence sensor, you can just get the pedals spinning and the motor would engage. On this, I actually have to put some pressure on the pedals and then the motor engages, because what a cadence sensor will do is sometimes you can just barely move a pedal and the motor will blurp a little bit, put out a little power, and then you quit pedaling and it takes a second for that power to stop. That's not the case with a torque sensor. A torque sensor, just think of it as bionic legs. You're moving your legs, it's sensing the movement of your legs, and it's putting out power, and the harder you pedal, the more power it's going to put out. And here's an excellent example. A cadence sensor would never be able to do this. I can just barely move those pedals and kick on the motor just for that bit that I'm moving the pedals. As soon as I stop, it quits, and that's because I'm putting some pressure on the pedals and actually causing the motor to engage. If I lightly do it, the motor doesn't engage. That's torque sensing, and that's big stuff. That's higher dollar stuff than the price of this bike for sure. And while I suspected it was a torque sensor, where I knew it had to be a torque sensor was on hills. You'll see me shifting gears here. If this were a cadence-equipped e-bike, I could just get the pedals moving and the motor would do all of the work. I'm actually having to pedal here, but don't get me wrong. You can pedal as easy as you want. Go into the lowest gear, and it doesn't take much effort at all to crest this hill at 6 or 7 miles per hour. If I wanted to go any faster, I could. As a matter of fact, on a torque sensor-equipped bike, there's one thing you can do on those that you usually can't do on a cadence sensor bike, and that's stand to pedal, which makes this more of a real bike to people that don't like e-bikes because they feel like they're cheating. This, you actually do have to put some effort into pedaling. Now, if you want to take it easy, you can do that, but you still have to pedal. I use this analogy a lot on torque sensing bikes. Just think of it as a standard bike, but now you're riding it with bionic legs. Another thing that stands out about this bike, and this is a very select few bikes that I've ridden that can claim this rides more like a standard bike. If it weren't for the electric output, I wouldn't know it because it rides like a regular bike. It's only 41 pounds. It's nice and agile. It's nimble, easy to cut around. Not a lot of rolling resistance with those tires. It's kind of a perfect street bike. Just as a bike, it just happens to have electric power, torque-based electric power. Those bionic legs propel me up to 16, 18 miles per hour with ease. Range. They claim up to 40 miles. I don't know, I haven't tested full ranging on this because I've had limited time with it, but I can tell you, I believe it would easily get over 30 miles per charge in the lower pedal assist settings. If you're like me and you like to keep things at the max assist, you're easily going to get over 10. I would say you might could push it up towards 20. I doubt you'll top 20 in the max assist. I'll say 16-ish as the max assist setting, which is not bad considering this is a small battery, that stealth battery on a bike that people, if you're riding by with this, I don't think a lot of people would know this is an e-bike. I can hear the motor while I'm riding on it, but from a few feet away, you can't hear it. And with the battery hidden in the down tube, it doesn't look like an e-bike. So this is definitely a stealth e-bike. I even like the name Vitesse. Actually, let me talk about Vitesse for just a second, because I've seen Vitesse on bikes for years, and usually it was the very affordable big box bikes. Would have a Vitesse saddle, maybe a Vitesse stem. So I asked kind of bluntly, hey, why use Vitesse, a brand that I associate with lower end bikes, on a bike that clearly looks higher tier? I was told that the Vitesse brand is situated at a different tier outside the United States in other markets. And that's where this bike came from, one of those other markets. Fortunately, the speedometer still says miles per hour. And I'll say more fitting because the Vitesse brand, it just sounds cool. This looks cool. It is cool. And we've gone over all the features in this video. I've shown you every component, detail by detail. We've talked about the ride, talked about performance. Oh, and this bike does have rack mounts, front and rear. So components, I've talked about performance, the ride, what you can expect mileage-wise, top speed-wise, even that this has a torque sensor. Mendham, you really should be listing that this has a torque sensor on the website listing for this bike. It's a big deal, a high tier deal. Okay, let's get to the final thing here, and that's price. The biggest thing, other than the features, which are important. On the Mendham Bikes website, this Vitesse Flare is marked down 71% to $399.99. Oh, and by the way, this is a one-size-fits-all frame. They call it the Universal, 5 foot 6 inches to 6 foot 2 inches. I think that's fairly accurate. I would think maybe down on the low side, 5'8" would probably be more comfortable. Definitely up to 6'2" I could see on this, but 5'6" to 5'8", I'll grant that. Only one color option. They call it forest green. I've said it's a rally green, a British rally green, British racing green. It's a beautiful color, beautiful bike. Seen all that. So $399.99, in my opinion, already a steal for the bike at that price. But you know, I told you, there's a discount coupon code that's going to blow everything away. So let me just get into the cart here. You know, I normally have my KevCentral discount coupon code that goes for any bike on the Mendham Bikes website, 5% off. And then the Rover Flex, the Innovator Rover Flex, there's KevCentral 20 that gets a discount. Well, this one, it's going to blow away both of those, but it's only on this bike, only on this Vitesse Flare, $399.99. Well, let's look at this new coupon code, KevCentral Flare, F-L-A-R-E, and let's apply this, and that drops the price down to $260 for everything you just saw in this video. An amazing price, in my opinion, and I think probably most of you watching this are going to be amazed by that too. Again, the coupon code KevCentral Flare, all one word, and Flare is F-L-A-R-E. I'll put a link down in the description you can click on, go straight to the webpage. Also put the coupon code down there if you just want to copy and paste that. Also note, these bikes have free shipping, so that's $260 and then plus tax, but free shipping, no extra shipping fee on this, $260. Quite a deal, in my opinion, on quite a bike. I like practically everything about this, though there are a couple of caveats I need to throw out there. First and foremost, that battery hiding in the down tube is not UL listed. That's a byproduct of the bike coming from an external market and brought in. Still, it's something to take note of. Now, there's also the fact that the bikes are brought in and backed by Kent, so there's that. Second, and it also has to do with the battery, I took off that badge to get to the battery. I was going to take it out, take some video of it, and there was a head tube in the way. So it's not a quick replace battery. You can't buy a couple of extra batteries and add extra range to a ride because this takes some effort. And by effort, I mean completely remove the handlebars and stem, take the fork out, and then you're still going to have to remove the charge port and the power switch, and then there's some cabling down on the bottom that has to be undone. I eventually just gave up. Not because it can't be done, but this bike is being donated, and I didn't want to risk tugging on electrical connections and stuff like that on a bike that's not mine. So just note, the battery is not a quick or easy remove battery, it's a chore. But it is replaceable, so overall that's a good thing. I just figured you'd want to know those two things, the UL listing and that this battery not as easy to come in and out as normally I'm accustomed to when I think replacement battery. Really trivial given the price and all these other components, the way this comes together to make an amazing bike for $260 with that coupon code KevCentral Flare. In my opinion, definitely the deal of the year. We'll see how long these last. It could be the deal of 2025 as well. That's my thoughts. That's my look at the Vitesse Flare and the coupon code, all that. See the description for links if you want to check this out for yourself. Comment below with your thoughts and your opinions on this, especially the deal. Given what you've just seen, the pricing, I'd like to see what you think about it. I was impressed. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.